Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Mass Effect 3. Last we left off, we had explored one of the possible endings to this game. Now, I'm actually moving us back quite a bit, and this time I'm going to start breaking down many of the visuals that we see, and many of the things that are kind of going on during this last really surreal section of the game. I'm actually even specifically going to reload the beginning of this cutscene right after Shepard has been hit by the beam by Harbinger. Pay attention to the dialogue that plays, even just as Shepard is waking up. Because they talk about no one moving, that they're all gone, and yet somehow both Shepard and Anderson make it onto the Citadel.
It's too much. We need to regroup. Fall back to the buildings.
Nav is wiped out. All forces, retreat.
Notice, all of the damage that's been done to Shepard does not leave her nearly as bloody as she gets depicted towards the very end. And all of a sudden, there's a bunch of trees and brush that weren't here before. I want to point these out more explicitly this time, because it's something that feeds into something of a theory later on. You're forced to move as slowly as possible. Even me hitting the spacebar to try and make her move faster doesn't work. She trips and falls, and this is all to give you that sense of helplessness, that you are very out of it. On top of that, you have all of this background noise. Harbinger has left. Everything is all faded and distant. There are only some details that are actually present. Sort of like a dream. You're forced to take that one hit. Unless you're really good and are able to kill that creature before it actually manages to get a hit on you. Oh, I stopped, but apparently the cutscene decided to go without me. So, somehow, despite the fact that I was looking around and saw no other movement, remember what Anderson says as soon as you wake up. Alright, so we're going to see this cutscene again. And we can probably safely assume that this is legitimately happening. This battle probably indeed was going down. The crushing of the ships, the arrival of the Crucible. But I am pretty well proposing the idea that there might be some level of deception going on as well. Very epic, the arrival of the Crucible.
Holy shit, she did it. This is the Admiral. We've got reports that someone made it to the Citadel. We need to give them time to get those arms open. All fleets converge on the Crucible. Protect it at all costs.
But the thing is that even if the conflict was happening, well, I'll touch on that a little bit later. So, Shepard arrives. Substantially damaged. But
Shepard.
then, what was that twitch and that sound effect?
Shepard.
Anderson, you up here too?
I followed you up, but we didn't come out the same place. Oh, at least I don't think we did. What's your surrounding look like? You okay?
So, if Anderson followed you up, then how was he able to recover that much faster, especially if he sustained similar damage to you? I mean, he looks pretty beat up too. It's entirely possible that since he didn't take perhaps a direct blast to the face, that he was fine, but in which case, how would the people reporting on seeing no movement overlook that? Not just one, but two people getting up and moving towards the conduit. In which case, something is not adding up here. It doesn't seem possible for Anderson to be able to maneuver this much faster than Shepard.
I feel like death, but I'm moving. It's dark. There's human remains scattered.
Sounds familiar. I'm in a dark hallway. Reminds me of your description of the collector base.
Makes sense.
You think they're making a Reaper in here?
Sure. They round them up on Earth and send the people up here to be processed.
Goddamn abomination. I'm gonna keep moving. The sooner we blow these bastards back to hell, the better.
So I also want to point out that as Shepard is moving here...
Forever. But where the hell are we?
Yeah. Doesn't look like any part of the Citadel I've been to.
So, Shepard is not holding her side here. You'd think that that would be something that would be important, and we do see her bleeding from her side later. The fact that we've entered a room that looks suspiciously like the collector base, even so much to have it pointed out to her, and the fact that we have the human remains here and the suspicion of maybe they're making another Reaper. That's obviously a pretty obvious misdirection, but it still feels like it's playing off of Shepard's understanding of the Reapers thus far.
Anderson?
One of the walls here just realigned itself. The place is shifting, changing.
So,
There's a chasm here, and more hallways like the one I was in.
I think I'm near an exit.
I realize that we are at the moment surrounded by a bunch of corpses. But I don't see anything else that leads into the center the way that this one does. There may be other chasms, or there may be other doors and other hallways that lead into this, but we only see the one that connects up. And especially in terms of the timing, Anderson would have had to have not only made it across, but made it across and have time for a bridge to retract before that door even opened.
Might be a way to cross over.
Don't get too far ahead of me.
And from the angle that we're approaching, there would have been no way for him to get to that room.
Where do you think you're at?
Just found that chasm you were talking about.
Hold on. I see something. A control panel, maybe. I'm just gonna go on.
There's literally nothing else in this chasm
Anderson?
that could have carried him through any faster than how we were
Damn it.
moving. I'm pointing this all out for a reason. Some of you may already know. Now yes, Shepard is moving admittedly pretty slow here. There's definitely something holding Shepard back. But even, I'm gonna try and pause as best as I can on the edge of this chamber. There would not be, really, another way for him to have gotten up here. Not from that chasm. If you look around, the only way in would have been from here. But we didn't see him at any point up until now. And I'm calling into question our perception of things, because perception is, I think, vital to understanding what's going on in this scene. And I'll continue deconstructing it. I apologize if it gets tedious. But we get to this point.
Anderson!
And he is already being controlled. You can hear the whispers. And you can see the Eventually, the oily black shadows,
I underestimated you, Shepard.
indicative of indoctrination.
I warned you. Control is the means to survival. Control of the Reapers, and of you, if necessary.
How would something that controls the Reapers...
They're controlling you.
I don't think so, Admiral.
Yeah, you may not think so, but I don't think it's a coincidence that we see a lot of similar modifications to the Elusive Man that we saw in Saren, and that a lot of this actually has a lot of resonance with what happened with Saren in the first game. Having to argue with him and make the point,
Controlling me.
you're being
is a lot
controlled,
different than controlling a Reaper.
and having them resist
Have
it.
a little faith.
Being so resolute,
humanity discovered the
wanting
last
to
relay,
control
when
things,
we learned
wanting
there
to
was
have
more to the
control.
galaxy than we imagined. There were some who thought the relay should be destroyed. They were scared of what we'd find, terrified of what we might let in. But look at what humanity has achieved. Since that discovery, we've advanced more than the past 10,000 years combined.
But this isn't a
And
discovery.
the Reapers will do the same for us again, 1,000-fold. But
This is just him exerting his control.
only if we can harness their ability to control.
Bullshit. We destroy them, or they destroy us.
So Anderson clearly represents
And
the
waste
destroy
this opportunity?
option.
Never.
The Elusive Man represents the control option. And obviously we even see this when we are presented with the various choices in the end. We have Anderson being the one to approach the console for destruction, and the Elusive Man being the one at the helm for control. They both represent each of these ideals.
You're playing with things you don't understand. With power you shouldn't be able to use.
I don't believe that. If we can control it, why shouldn't it be ours?
Because we're not ready.
And there is an interesting statement right there.
No.
Remember
This
what
is the way
the Catalyst
humanity
said
must evolve.
to Shepard. Because you're ready.
There's always another way.
I've dedicated my life to understanding the Reapers, and I know with certainty the Crucible will allow me to control them.
And then what?
Look at the power they wield. Look at what they can do.
Ugh. Look at where Anderson is holding himself now. I just wanted to point that
I
out.
see what they did to you.
I took what I wanted from them, made it my own. This isn't about me or you. It's about things so much bigger than all of us.
He's wrong. Don't listen to him.
And who will you listen to, Shepard? An old soldier stuck in his ways, only able to see the world down the barrel of a gun?
This is also an interesting
And what if
statement.
he's wrong? What if controlling the Reapers is the answer?
Because a lot of people have complained that Shepard is just a soldier that can only see the world through the barrel of a gun. I find that that's a very important distinction to have as well, that it's very important to draw the comparison between Anderson and Shepard. I believe that there's a deliberate parallel here and that there is something else that is obviously going on. I've alluded to the idea that this is more of an illusion than it is reality. And I believe that this conversation is happening not necessarily with Shepard and two other people, but Shepard and themselves.
If we destroy the Reapers, this ends today. But if you can't control them,
But I can!
are you
Temptation
willing to bet
is there.
humanity's existence on
The
it?
temptation.
I know it will work.
You can't, can you? They won't let you do it.
No! I'm in control! No one is telling me what to do!
Listen to yourself. You're indoctrinated.
No! No! The two of you so self-righteous. Do you think power like this comes easy? There are sacrifices.
You sacrifice too much.
Shepard, I only wanted to protect humanity. The Crucibles can control them. I know it can. I just...
It's not too late. Let us go. We'll do the rest.
I can't do that, Commander.
Of course you can't. They own you now.
You'd undo everything I've accomplished. I won't let that happen.
And if this is a conversation that Shepard is having with themselves, it's also very interesting. I mean, one of Shepard's defining traits is their sheer willpower. Their sheer, not just necessarily ruthlessness, but their ability to endure. How strong their character is, and how important it is, that they can persist where others cannot. I believe that this is representative, right here, of Shepard's ability to resist even this far, this close into an illusion that they're being trapped in.
Because of you, humanity is already undone.
That's not true!
They have the Citadel. They've got us fighting each other instead of fighting them.
I just need to...
You've done exactly what the Reapers wanted. You're still doing it because they control you.
They're too strong.
You're stronger. Don't let them win. Break their hold. Don't let them control you.
I tried, Shepard.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that this scene invokes so much of the scene with Saren. Because that was something that Shepard has seen before. The last resistance against total indoctrination. And now Shepard is holding their side. So, this in itself, it's hard to say. It might be that Shepard did make it onto the Citadel and was able to do this, but it's hard to say if Shepard was actually joined by anyone else. After all, well, if anything, I've already pointed out the weaknesses in Anderson's presence being there. The likelihood of Anderson getting in after her, but then getting ahead of her that much, with no other visible signs of his presence, except for the fact that he showed up on the comm.
10 seconds to contact.
And the fact that it was something that his voice was what woke Shepard, and with such a bizarre start, with a sound effect that sounds vaguely reminiscent of the sound effects of the indoctrination tendrils. Now, I'm pointing all of this out for a reason. And I'll elaborate probably a bit more once I get closer to another one of the endings. Or even towards the end of this one. So far, this has been pretty much entirely an episode of my breaking down and discussing what I like about this ending and pointing out a lot of the flaws in the things that we've been shown.
It's quite a view.
Best seats in the house.
God. Feels like years since I just sat down.
Yeah, when you're in a constant state of adrenaline rush.
Think you earned a rest.
Hopefully.
Stay with me. We're almost through this.
You did good, child. You did good. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
There's actually an extended version of this conversation that didn't actually end up making it into the final cut, which is a shame. So all of a sudden, Shepard is bleeding a hell of a lot more than she was a minute ago. And she's bleeding out of the same place that she shot Anderson
Shepard.
before.
Commander,
I believe that was not an area that was injured until after she shot Anderson.
nothing's happening. The crucible's not firing.
Which I feel lends a lot more to the idea
There's
that
gotta be something on your end.
that confrontation was with herself. And that the rest of this is an
Commander
illusion.
Shepard.
I don't see. I'm not sure how to.
And this is where we see her succumbing the most to her injuries. And it happens very often in this game. The fade to a pure white light. Like this. So this episode might end up running a little bit longer than average, at least a little bit longer than I have been doing them, because I want to kind of start making all of my points now and then kind of go through the other endings as they come up. But again, this is where things kind of start to fall apart in the narrative. This is where things start to get a little bit more than can be believable. The fact that we hear one voice actor for Shepard in each ear
Wake up.
tells that this is a communication, again, far more with Shepard himself.
Where am I?
There is nothing in the structure of the Citadel that would
Citadel.
support
It's my home.
a place like this. We've not seen anything like this
Who
before.
are you?
I am the catalyst.
This does not seem to fit in with the structure of the Citadel.
was the catalyst.
No, the Citadel is part of me.
This actually makes
I need to
sense.
stop the Reapers. Do you know how I can do that?
Perhaps I control the Reapers. They are my solution.
If the Citadel is the heart of galactic community, and is in fact tied with all of the Mass Effect relays as we have established
Solution
by
to
the
what?
first game, then it makes sense that the
Chaos.
Catalyst is what has set up all of the Mass Effect relays,
The
especially
creators
as discussed
will
in
always
the
rebel against their
Leviathan
creators.
DLC.
But we found a way to stop that from happening. A way to restore order.
By wiping out organic life?
No, we harvest advanced civilizations, leaving the younger ones alone. Just as we left your people alive the last time we were here.
But you killed the rest.
We helped them ascend, so they could make way for new life, storing the old life in Reaper form.
I think
Again,
we'd rather keep our own form.
The logic for all of this starts to break
No,
down.
you can't.
This really only
Without us to stop
favors
it,
the
synthetics
existence
would
of the
destroy all
Reapers.
organics. We've created the cycle so that never happens. That's the solution.
This is all incredibly self-serving. This is only going to serve the Reapers in almost every single solution that is presented here. Everything that this catalyst says paints the Reapers in a much more sympathetic light, as if that what they are doing is in fact so altruistic. It is the savior of organics. It preserves the information and stores them in the form of each of these Reapers into themselves, storing all of the knowledge of every civilization that it's wiped out. But as I pointed out before, how does it allow organics to actually grow and change and understand them if what it does is set up a way for them to be controlled? Every time, because they end up using the mass relays, they use them to end up advancing their society to a certain point. It was established directly to control the development of humanity. This feels so much less like as if they are trying to protect organics, and so much more like organics are cattle. So I believe that there's very little that we can trust about this situation. And I'm going to start actually showcasing the endings, the various endings, in the next, and most likely final, installment of Let's Play Mass Effect 3. I hope to see you then.